I'm here tonight because you wanted me to be.
I'm glad you came, because I think you're gonna like it. Let's get nuts!
You are so twisted.
Let's face it, you're a knockout.
The Encyclopedia Galactica, in its chapter on love, states that it is far too complicated to define. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has this to say on the subject of love. Avoid, if at all possible.
All right. Good evening to the Bahamas and the world. You are tuned into After Hours with yours truly, Sexy Vanessa. Yeah, man. Another one. DJ Khaled. As a matter of fact, Khaled is in town, isn't he? He's here for Carnival. DJ Khaled, yeah, and another one. Yeah, man. He actually did a video here. Was that like last year or something? They were over on Paradise Island. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, I think that was around Carnival time or after Carnival last year. But he was there with, I think, one of the groups. So, yeah, big ups to DJ Khaled, who's in town. And we are now on, I think this is episode 5. I believe that's where we're at. I know, Tino, you say, you know, after a while you go forget the numbers. I forgetting them already, man. It's hard to keep up, man. So much great stuff going on. Of course, a big special shout out to our Facebook and WhatsApp groups, After Hours 242. You can join the conversation there as well, man. Yeah, you know how we do. Tonight's show is being brought to you by the Laugh My Ass Off Island Comedy Experience. It all goes down May 20th right here in Nassau, Bahamas at St. John's College Auditorium, man. Yeah, big venue there. So definitely looking forward to heading out. And as a matter of fact, listen, you guys know how I do, right? Okay, so what's the point in having friends in a fan club if you can't do anything for them, right? Right, so I'm going to do something for them. We got special pricing on the tickets, okay? Yeah, the regular ticket price is $35, which is cool, right? That's an awesome price. But guess what? If you hook up with one of the After Hours 242 groups, either on Facebook or on WhatsApp, you can find the WhatsApp link in the Facebook group. We actually got tickets for you 2 for $60, okay? And the VIP tickets, which are $50, you can get them $45 a piece, all right? Yeah, man, that's how we're doing it. So definitely get in on the action, okay? It's going to be a whole group of us out there. It's going to be a great night. Of course, you know, major hype is what it's all about. Yeah, man, the Caribbean king of comedy. I absolutely love his stuff. As a matter of fact, I just got the video from my boy Ken, the little promo video. So I'm going to post that up on our Facebook group, of course, and in our WhatsApp group as well. Yeah, man, the promo video. MTV Wildin' Out's Rip Michaels, he's going to be in town as well. We got a little promo from him. So I'm so looking forward to it. You know, Naughty's going to be there, the Bahamian king of comedy. That's one of my great friends. So yeah, it's going to be an incredible night. Definitely make your plans to get out. And like I said, if you are a member of the After Hours 242 Facebook or WhatsApp group, you can get a deal on those tickets, okay? Yeah, man, just message me at After Hours 242 or of course at More Sexy Vanessa online. Let me know you're interested. And yeah, we got them 2 for $60 or those VIP tickets. And the great thing with the VIP tickets, they actually have an open bar for the 2 hours of the show. So, you know, come on, man. You cannot beat it with a stick. Regular price $50 for you. I got it for $45. All right. So hit up your girl, man. Yeah, you know, I got the plug. Of course, speaking of plugs, big ups to the studio plug, man. Yeah, my boy Tino, the producer, of course, keeping the show flowing as always, man. That's what it's all about. Yeah, we're having such a great time. So looking forward to tonight's show. Got to send a special shout out, of course, not just to our groups, but to all of our listeners. And again, I'm loving seeing all these different countries, man. Yeah, it's so wonderful to connect with people all around the world. As a matter of fact, one of my most memorable experiences in radio was a lady from Canada who listened to us. That's at More 94. She used to listen to us online. And something I said one day, and she actually took the time out to find the email addresses for management, and she sent them a beautiful email just complimenting me and actually asking them to forward a message to me where she said, you know, never think that you're not reaching someone, you know, someone out there is being affected and thanking me for what I did. So yeah, it's great to see all the different countries and, you know, seeing everyone become a part of the After Hours sexual movement, right? Because that's what it is. Yeah, man, we're all about the sex, safe, honest, and pure, right? Is that a thing? Yeah, man, sex can be pure. We don't think it can, but trust me, nothing in and of itself is bad. It's only how you apply it. So either way, special shout out, of course, to all of our local listeners here in the Bahamas, but also to our listeners in in the United States. We have listeners in France, in Ireland, Canada, also in Australia, Colombia, Indonesia, Jamaica, Germany, the Philippines, Italy, Bonaire, and of course in Sweden. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. As a matter of fact, I have some really great stuff planned. You guys are going to really, really enjoy what we do. Going to take some time to actually head on a European trip after a while. Yeah, you guys are going to be really surprised at what goes down with the After Hours team. So definitely, and I know that's my word, I say it too much, definitely make sure you go and get in on the action, join the conversation, become a part of the groups. Hit us up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at After Hours 242, or of course myself on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at More Sexy Vanessa. Okay, yeah, if you're tuning in, you might be listening to us on SoundCloud, but you can also check us out on YouTube. And as a matter of fact, make sure you don't just listen, but give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep the movement going, okay? Now tonight, you know what we're doing. It's such an interesting, I don't know if I would say coincidence, right? Because I don't quite believe in coincidence anymore. But last week I told you we were going to dive into the man cave this week, right? That's what it's all about. And it was such, I guess, an interesting coincidence that so many interesting things happened to men this week in the news. In fact, it was a really rough week for Kanye. You remember Kim Ye? It was Kim and, it's Kanye and Donald Trump and Kanye West. They had very, very rough weeks. Both of them, last weekend, they actually had the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which it's a roast, right? And for those of you who don't know, a roast is a time where you get together and, as Bahamians would say, red one another, right? Yeah, you can red somebody up, make jokes, make sport. And it is supposed to be all in good fun, although the jokes are usually based on truth. Now, the thing with a roast is it's usually very raw in a sense, it's not meant to be cutesy. It's cutting comedy, and that becomes very interesting when you have the White House correspondents, which is they're the journalists who are allowed and have access to the White House and go to the press conferences and whatnot, and the actual people from the White House, up on the dais listening to the jokes. Now, they invited this comedian by the name of Michelle Wolf, and she is definitely my entertainer for the week. Okay, I sound like Rain Man. Definitely. Okay, she is a great comedian. But, she's really out there. She doesn't hold back at all. And they invited her to actually, do the hosting bit of it or the main gig. And man, did she lay in to those folks. I mean, she just went at it. And it was interesting to watch the reactions because, obviously the journalists know there's press there that's actually covering the event, right? So you're liable to be on camera being seen reacting to these different things that Michelle is saying. And so, you could see that some journalists were just like, wow, I can't believe she's doing it. And you could see they almost wanted to, they were standing up inside themselves, right? Have you ever heard that joke? Les Brown tells it about a little boy on a bus, and the kids kept pushing him down. And, he kept getting up. And then finally they held him down. And he was like, yeah, you might be holding me down, but I'm standing up inside myself. That's how some of the journalists looked, okay? They looked like there was so much joy and mirth in their souls at what Michelle was saying and the way she was really laying into the White House staff and into the president as well. As a matter of fact, it's so funny when you talk about ways that you can kind of hurt people's feelings. She said, obviously Trump doesn't care about things that people say. It doesn't move him. But, she tried to hit him where it hurts. And she said, Donald Trump is so broke. How broke is he? I mean, listen, it was nuts. Absolutely crazy. So you guys got to check it out. She's actually one of the writers for Trevor Noah, in his show. So, again, comedy hurts at times. The truth hurts. And comedy is usually the truth. It's the best comedians simply observe life in a very interesting way. So, big ups to Michelle Wolf. She talked about Sarah Huckabee Sanders as well, who's actually the White House press secretary. And it's funny because a lot of people are trying to, I guess, say, it was really mean as a woman to talk about another woman like that. But as Michelle even said, in a tweet. Let me pull this up for you here. Michelle says, why are you guys making this about Sarah's looks? I said she burns facts and uses the ash to create a perfect, quote unquote, perfect smoky eye. I complimented her eye makeup and her ingenuity of materials. See, that's an excellent comedian right there. So big ups to Michelle Wolf, man. So that Donald Trump's part of Donald Trump's stress, right? Never mind his encounters with leaders of the so-called free countries in the world. It hasn't been going so great for him. And Kanye West, who just, complimented Trump the other day, saying they were both dragon energy. Well, that dragon energy lit both of them afire this week because Kanye seems to have lost his freaking mind. He went on some weird, it wasn't a rant, it was like an interview, and he went on to say that, slavery 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Yeah, well, that didn't go over very well. He got told off from TMZ reporter Van Lathan. Not told off. Van actually did a very excellent job of explaining, what the issue is with Kanye. And I think Kanye is just too intelligent for himself. The movie, you ever saw the movie, The Aviator, about Howard Hughes? Very intelligent. When you're very intelligent, some other parts of you start lacking. And I think that's what Kanye is suffering from. Meanwhile, Black Twitter made huge jokes out of it and has all sorts of memes about if slavery was a choice. And I must say, it was freaking hilarious. It really, really was. So check it out. We reposted some of them. That's at After Hours 242 on Twitter. Yeah, man, the men just doing weird stuff this week. And then French President Macron, he did a weird guy thing too. He was in Australia speaking to the Australian Prime Minister. And he said, I want to thank you for having me and your wife. She's so delicious. Well, not a phrase how you could call a man wife delicious. At a press conference. No, apparently it was a misunderstanding. In French, the word also means delightful. But apparently one of the newspapers actually depicted him as President Pepe Le Pew. Don't you love Pepe Le Pew from the cartoon characters? Pepe was a lover, man. And Macron, you know what? He took it in good spirit. Yeah, he said he actually thought it was very funny. And of course, he didn't mean any offense to Minister Malcolm Turnbull's wife. That's the Prime Minister of Australia. He didn't mean anything by it. But it's been an interesting week to watch the men. And now we're going to get even deeper in. Yeah, because we've been talking to men all week. Well, I've been talking to men all week. I want people to get them. Sorry. Okay. Moving right along. Tina, we're moving right along. Okay. This week, like I said, it's about the man cave because, we talk about love and life and sex and relationships. But I am a female, and obviously much of what I share is from the female perspective to an extent. But I would like to say that I do try to be objective, This is not a man-bashing show, and I hope that that's never how anyone feels about it. I think that everyone kind of needs a dose of act right in this world. I think all of our minds, they're out of order, We've been brainwashed into certain systems, and I think everybody kind of needs a reboot, So I'm trying to be as level and balanced as possible. And so that's why it was really important for me. Like I said, this is now the 5th episode. I really wanted to say, hey, guys, what are you thinking about this? You know what I mean? How are you feeling so far? This is what we're thinking. And it's very interesting because basically the question for the week has been, what is it like dating today's women? And I gotta say, getting conversation out of some guys is like, pulling teeth. Guys really don't want to talk about it. In general, their answer is complicated. Like, everybody's like, it's complicated. As a matter of fact, someone in the group said, nowadays the women are like a whole different species. So, it's an interesting thing what men are facing. And we've had some interesting conversations in the WhatsApp group After Hours 242. And it's funny because as I was kind of compiling all of this information and looking at the different responses, I realized, and I've talked about this before, right? We have a young lady in the group who was dating or is dating. I don't know how that's going, but she's talking to an older gentleman. And of course, everyone wants to know, okay, well, is it really going to work? How does that go on? And we will talk about that in another episode. But generally speaking, when you talk about these guys who are, late 30s, in their 40s, who are interested in girls who are 18, 19, 20, who aren't really fully mature yet. And mind you, not to say they're not adults, because I guess the law says you're an adult at 18, right? But they're still going through their self-identity phase, right? And of course, the question is always, okay, what does a man who should be at a certain point in his life see in a woman at that age? Especially if it's not a situation, like, it's not like he's just taking her in and lavishing her like, oh, you will be my young wife. You know what I mean? Come be my young wife and I will pay for everything. Like that. Maybe I could understand that. But it's like, okay, well, why would you pick her if there are eligible females your age, right, who are more in the stage of life that you're in? Why? Like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? And I realize that it's really lower expectations. It's the same thing that I was talking about, I think it was last week, about dating someone who has the right level problems for you to solve as a man. Again, I believe men are intended to be the primary providers. Women are intended to take what is provided, assist in providing more, and take what is provided and actually grow that, invest and turn that into something else. So yeah, looking at this whole thing, I realized that if you deal with today's women, it is rough, okay? Because today's women are a little demanding, all right? We're going to get into that. But when you deal with a younger woman who's maybe just in college or whatever, like, especially if her school fees are already paid, like, some lunch money, buy some shoes. Now, God help you if she likes weave, the black girls that like the Remy. I understand. Listen, my first remote in radio, which is a remote is like when you go out to the business and do the on-location thing. It was for Monty's Beauty Supplies in Engliston, right? Shout out to Monty's. Very lovely people, right? Absolutely love it. So it was like my first one. Sammy Starr. Big shout out to Sammy Starr. He was still working with the station then, with More 94. And so I went out there and he told me, he's like, you're going to be fine. You'll be fine. And so I went out there and the girl was giving me the price list, right? And they had like a sale on Remy. And it was like 2 bundles or something for like, or each bundle was like 300 something instead of the normal 400 something, or 200 instead of 300, like something like that. And I was like, well, how much bundles? How many bundles does a person usually need, like, to do? They're like, oh, if you got like 2 or 3 bundles, and I'm like, dude, that's like, wait, 2 or like what? You mean you're spending like more than $500 just on hair? That's not even an outfit yet. Like, Lord, you know what I mean? So. Yeah, guys, I get the complications. I understand why some of the older men are dealing with younger women, because again, hopefully once they don't wear the Remy thing, right, it's a cheaper proposition, you know what I mean? And we're gonna discuss this evening. I think it's a very interesting topic. And again, the conversation is still open. Check us out on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, also on Facebook at After Hours 242. Now, like I said, today's women can seem, and I'm having a hard time saying this, Tino, right? Because like, it's like I talking bad about my so-called species, right? But today's women can seem kind of demanding, all right? And to be honest with you, I don't think this was just some natural, all of a sudden, we're divas and like, boy, bye. No, there's been a progression to this. And I think understanding that is a part of us kind of coming back to center, right? The whole Industrial Revolution, I know, I go back to things and people are like, what? Like all the way back there. Yeah, the Industrial Revolution. And when you go back to the World Wars, World War I, World War II as well. When men started going away for war, women had to fulfill the jobs that the men left behind in factories and everything else, right? That was the first shift in the dynamic between men and women, in my opinion. Because while women, yes, were accustomed to working and accustomed to being helpmeets, a vast portion of the population of women suddenly became accustomed to being the primary provider, and that changes things. It changes the weight in the playing field, right? When you move from there to now post World War II, the civil rights movement, when you move through the drug era, right, from the 70s all the way through to the 90s in particular, when you talk about here in the Caribbean, incarceration, drug abuse. I mean, I had a great coworker of mine whose husband, you know, started using, I guess, cocaine back in the 80s and just like never was able to catch himself after that, right? All of these factors have contributed to what we know as the deterioration of the family. And while, yes, a lot of this for the Black segment of persons started as far back as slavery and, you know, the way that the family structure was broken up then, these latter issues didn't only affect Blacks, they affected everybody. You know what I mean? It's a whole different place. And men came back and were kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? These women are now maybe not divas still, but again, they're expecting more. And it's difficult. Listen, anyone who's had a taste of independence, right, and having their own or having to work for their own, yes, it is difficult. But at the end of the day, being able to make certain decisions and not being subject to someone in the same way that you were before is a liberating experience, you know? And again, depending on how submissive a woman feels towards a man, whether she is truly compelled to submit to him in love, you know, it can become an argument and it can become a problem. And I see this happening with other actions that we kind of go through here in the present day. Again, as we more so play this role of provider, what that means now is that we kind of expect more. And I think the modern day man has had two reactions to that, okay? You have the men that are like, okay, you know what? Since y'all won't work so much, I can lay back and I show up that, you know what? You could take care of me. All right? Yeah, I don't know about those dudes. But anyway, that's one portion of it, right? Because it's almost, and I said it last week, it's like we have become so independent minded that allowing a man to play the role that he should play, we take that as a slight on what we can do as independent women, okay? And notice I said can do, because there's a difference between what you can do and what you should do. You know, I remember once talking to a boyfriend. I was in a relationship at the time, and he said to me, you know, it's difficult for women to do it all because they weren't designed to do it all, you know? And if you really think about the responsibilities that we had at the time, you know, right now, if you're working the same amount of hours that your husband is working, plus expected to carry on with all the wifely duties at home in terms of keeping the house clean, taking care of the children and this and that, plus keep up with all the wifely duties in the bedroom. And mind you, you may really want to do that, but ain't nothing like being tired, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love my sleep, okay? I love sex, but I love my sleep. And it's difficult when you're doing so much work and doing all these things to kind of, you know, get everything in there. And of course, sex usually happens at the end of the day unless you're freaky and do it in the middle, right? But yeah, it's like the last thing on the list of things to do in the relationship. And I understand that's why married people have problems with this as well, because, you know, you're worn out with doing all these things and kind of living in terms of your actions and what you do and getting a job and everything else, basically the same way that men live. You know, we're not trained any differently. There's no, it's just you're a human being. You grow up, you go to school, you get a job, you work, and, you know, if you get married, okay, you and your husband do what you got to do. Now, speaking of getting married and doing what you have to do, when it comes to this financial thing, and this is the danger that I see, and this is what we were just having a conversation in the Facebook group today, and one of the members said, when I asked the question, when you're dating, should a female pick up the bill sometimes, right? Because this was proposed by one of our WhatsApp group members, and the person said they can, but they wouldn't recommend it. And of course, the reason they wouldn't recommend it is because, you know, that changes the dynamic of the relationship. Again, the Bible tells women to submit to their husbands. That's respect, right? The Bible also tells husbands to love their wives. That's being tender, okay? There's two whole different things. as a man, you have to maintain respect. And as men are intended to be the primary providers, that is a part of it. You know, your ability to provide, yes, is, I guess, tied to your manhood, as you would say. And so when women start doing what the men used to do, that becomes an issue. And even me, I have an issue with that. You know, when the guy in the group said, well, hey, yeah, if we're just dating, that means we're just getting to know each other. And so, yeah, you should pick up the tab sometime. And that made me ask the question, you know, who is pursuing and who is being pursued? And I think, you know, we have this term cougar. I'm not a cougar yet because I don't think, I will tell you this though. I have a lot of younger guys that are interested in me, the guys in their 20s, which I find crazy, right? But when you talk about a cougar, you know, it's about a woman being predatory. And that's the thing. Women are not meant to be predatory. Women are meant to pick, choose, and refuse from the men who are trying to get with her. You know what I mean? And somehow, again, this independent mind, we've twisted it around. And I think that this is where the difficulty comes for the men. We're so independent. We're so strong. We're so vocal. Not that we shouldn't be vocal, but I think because we're so sure of ourselves now, the men are just intimidated by the whole deal. And that's why they say, you know, it's complicated. So you have the segment of the men who, well, like I said, are, hey, that's, you know, let her take care of me since she thinks she's so wonderful. And you have the women that will do that because, again, I'm an independent woman. I don't need him to do anything for me, right? Never mind whether he should. So, again, listen, comment on it, guys. This is what we're talking about. This is the confusing factor for me, okay? Now, this 50-50 thing, I can't get down with that. I'm sorry. Like, I can't. It's not that I don't believe that a woman should contribute to a relationship financially in some regard or be able to perhaps help her gentleman if, you know, assistance is needed for something that they're doing. But overall, buddy, listen, if I have to put in just as much time, money, effort, everything else, and have the babies, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to respect you on the same level. And again, I think that's why the men are finding it complicated, because today women know what is possible. And even though they say we're not using our power, I actually think we are, because we have a lot of guys that are saying, well, hey, you know, women don't know what they want. I don't think it's that they don't know what they want. I think that women have just turned around and started doing the same thing that men were doing in terms of kind of play in the field, you know, and not to say they weren't doing it all the while. But nowadays, there's less value on kind of being discreet. Hey, if you're a bad bee, then let it be known. You know what I mean? You're a bad bee. You're using the dude for this. You're using the dude for that. And I find that to be so cold-hearted, you know? And again, I think this is where guys are finding it complicated, you know? The handhold thing is a dangerous situation. And when we talk about handholds, you know, one of the reasons that men said that they kind of aren't really dating as much now or aren't getting into the relationships, because, you know, the question I also pose, you know, we've been talking about no strings attached and the expectations and what people really want you to do and what they say they want to do versus what actually happens. And one of the dangers there is that, as wonderful as it was to hear some of the men say, well, hey, listen, yeah, I was in, you know, a no strings attached situation and it just wasn't meant to be, or I wasn't ready. It then brought about the question, well, why are we engaging in relationships if we know we're not ready? You know, I said it before, men will engage you and say, well, hey, yeah, I do want to be married and I do want more kids and, you know, I want all these things. And they just leave out the fact that either they want them but not with you, right? Or they want them but far in the future, you know? And so to me, again, while I appreciate the men who said, you know, that they're going through the self-discovery phase to some extent, which is important, you know, in Israelite culture, Hebrew culture, men weren't men until they were 30. And there's a reason for that. And it was nice to hear the real men say that, no, you know, I think I have to establish certain things for myself. Some of the guys said, you know, they want to get a home first, make sure that that's straight. And that I respect, because like I said, back in the day, you used to have something. So seeing these men who are focused on establishing themselves to a certain extent before they actually engage, that is respectable. But that's just before they engage, like with the ring, because they're engaging in sex in relationships even though they're not ready. And that, to me, is the dangerous part, because at the end of the day, you're still emptying out your emotional cup while you claim you're trying to guard yourself and build it. And it's a self-control thing. Also, men and women that hold on to one thing, and I think that's what the men experience when they're like, oh, well, women don't know what they want. Women do know what they want. A lot of times it's just, you're the best thing until what I want or something better shows up. And that's an issue. That's what, and again, I don't think it's just the women that do that. I think the men do it as well. We are spending time in relationships that we're not calling relationships. And that's the thing. I've been told by men that if they really want a woman, it's not a long decision-making process, you know. Certainly by the time you've been dating a man for 2 years, I mean, come on, especially if you're supposedly in a committed relationship. Likewise, even getting into a relationship, I've been told by men that, listen, they usually know within 4 weeks, okay? Yeah, 4 weeks. They know, hey, I want to be in a relationship with her or I don't. So the question is, why, if we know that these people that we're spending our time with aren't the people that we want to be with forever, why are we still spending the time? And again, I think it goes back to the self-control thing. And we lie to ourselves and to others because, again, it's just a handhold. You're just something to hold on to until I can reach for something else, or until something else is within grasp, right? I'll never forget a company I was working for. I will not name which company this was, not for this story, but a company I was working for, I was leaving them. My contract ended. I was contracted with them. My contract ended, and they were trying to offer me some employment terms, and I didn't like the employment terms. You know, it had like a pay cut. And, you know, I was like, nope, I want to be free. I don't want to be an employee. I've been contracted. I enjoy this freedom. So, you know, breaking up with the company. And it's so funny because a coworker of mine said that's exactly what it sounded like me and the CEO of the company were getting a divorce, because he's all there like, you know, I don't want you to leave. And I'm there like, listen, I was good to you. You know what I mean? But one of the things that he said to me was, hey, you know, because I was in sales, and he said, hey, you know, I kept you around even though, you know, you didn't hit quota. And I said, yeah. He's like, that's because I really like you. And I was like, no, that's because nobody else came around and made quota, right? Like, we had all sorts of salespeople that came in and they left and they never made quota. You know what I mean? And so, again, it's not just, I think we lie to ourselves, we lie to other people. You know, we have to be honest with the fact that, listen, you know whether or not you really want to be with that person long term, right? And it's funny because the same guy in the group who kind of, you know, I wouldn't go so far as to say he's a misogynist, but, you know, he pushes the envelope a little bit with the statements. He's one of those 50-50 kind of guys. He thinks, you know, the woman should pick up the tab sometimes, that kind of thing, right? For him, you know, he asked, well, if you're just dating, right? Why are we as women freeing up anyway, right? Because again, none of this would matter if we weren't having sex, okay? But the issue is that we get in these situationships, because we don't want to call them relationships. We're having sex, and then we're trying to figure out how all the proper things are going to fit into it after the fact, okay? It doesn't work like that. It can't work like that, you know? It's not the best way for it to work, I should say. Some of us, I understand, get lucky that way, but it's not the proper psychology, not the proper way to kind of approach it, because again, and mind you, it can be fine if you and the person are open. And like another guy in the group was mentioning the fact that he was in a situation with a female where he didn't want to be in a serious relationship, but, you know, they were friends and they used to go out and they wound up becoming intimate. And yes, they had a long-term situationship. Again, he wasn't ready because he feels there are certain things that he wants to do in life. And so, you know, at a time they kind of drifted apart a bit, and she found somebody else and she's very happy. That seems like a positive experience. And that's why I say, you know, sometimes you meet people and you say, you know what? whatever possible heartbreak may come from this is worth the experience. Now, not everybody is like that, okay? Some people, it's like, no, cut your losses now, all right? There's Kenny Rogers, you gotta know when to hold 'em, right? Know when to fold 'em. Now, you hear what he say? Know when to walk away. Know when to run. Okay, run. Sometimes you don't walk away, bro. You got to run in the other direction, all right? But yeah, we wind up in these situations where we're like, okay, you know what? It's comfortable for now. And again, the self-control thing is the problem. The sex is the problem, because if we weren't having the sex, we wouldn't feel that pressure. Women wouldn't pressure men for these relationships that men feel they don't want to be in. And I think we'd be able to hold firm a little bit better, because I was going to say, the guy asked, well, why are you freeing up if you're just dating anyway? And I'm like, well, why are you asking the woman to free up if you know that you don't intend to be serious, you know? Oh, sorry, we have a chorus. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Sorry, we have kitties. Well, we had kitties. It's very sad. We lost 2 kitties this week, right, Tino? Yeah, we have studio cats, man. I love cats, for those who don't know. I'll post a picture on Instagram, okay? At After Hours 242. All the cat lovers can check it out. And yeah, I love cats because I'm probably going to be an old, lush cat lady who, you know, drinks the finest wines and champagne and, you know, has mimosas for breakfast, but no husband. Because again, I think I'm one of those modern women that seems to be intimidating men, because I have determined that there are certain things, and it's hard for men to understand. I always say I'm very liberated, but I also have some very traditional values. It's hard for men to understand, you know, what I guess we want, or how some of us want so much. But the fact of the matter is, I really don't think that we want so much. I think that men and society has just trained us into devaluing sex. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, sex was reserved for marriage. And now, as women, we're convinced to free up, right? Within these long-term situationships. And then we have no bargaining chips left, you know? And of course, like they say, you know, why buy the cow if you could get the milk for free? And like I said last week, you know, people will tell you, oh, well, you're playing hard to get and you're high maintenance. And I think that all of these are terms that were put out there to, again, devalue something that should truly be cherished. And so, you know, it was interesting hearing the guy's perspective. You know, again, with the 50-50 thing, I'm not really there, because I think there has to be something more. You know, I don't mind if, you know, you tell me, hey, I got the time to spend, but right now I'm working on the budget, you know, and I have a little money or something. Okay, you know, maybe I could work with that. But the expectation of a female to kind of spend money, that part I'm not so down with, you know what I mean? And yet at the same time, and that to me is where the confusion is, because I ask, well, don't you think that if you're sleeping with a woman, right? She's given up all her bargaining chips, because sex is the biggest one, right? You're sleeping with her. You're spiritually married to this woman, whether you want to admit it or not. That's kind of what happens with sex. And you're not contributing to her life. Like, you don't think you know, you're already not marrying her. That's not like injury enough. Like, now you want to not marry her. You want to not contribute to her life. You know what I mean? You don't want to be of enough value where you could have, you know, profitable conversation. Because again, there's just nothing worse in the world than a man who can only like talk about sex or the things he wants to do to you. Like, it's just, my God, like, come on. Have you never been with a woman before? Like, why are you so over-sexualized, bro? This is killing me, you know what I mean? And likewise, you know, it's funny because my girl, Bahama Mama, she said, you know, when the guys were talking about money, which is another factor, right? For those who thought, yes, women are complicated, this and that, right? There's the other side who are like, yeah, other than the complicated women, there are those very direct women out there who, again, are really all about that thing. They want money, they expect this, they expect that, and some of them feel kind of pressured about that, right? And I understand that. You know, I kind of get that. And, you know, Bahama Mama and I were talking about that as well in the group. And it's just, again, it's not a matter of being bougie the way some people would think. I truly just believe it's a matter of value and self-worth, you know? As the gentleman said in the group when we talked about it, yes, he too believes that you should leave a woman better than when you met her. You know what I mean? A husband should be a provider, you know? But at the same time, I think that the men find those women who are the gold diggers, as we'll say, that use that aspect to their advantage and they abuse it. Because now, not only do some women expect you to do for them for every little thing and almost take care of them, right? When at the end of the day, you're really just a suitor, right? You're just trying to get it going. Mind you, now if you're sleeping together, I mean, if she claims spiritual marriage, then you got to talk to God about that, right? About what your responsibilities are. Yeah, because my mom always says, listen, if you break it, you bought it. And as a matter of fact, someone said to me this week, they're like, yeah, you know, I think as a man, once you're sleeping with a woman, you're responsible for her well-being to a certain extent, right? But you have the women who, again, abuse that because they're with guys who are, number one, handholds, just something until something else comes along. And then number two, you have the women who aren't freeing up, who have like their whole boyfriends, who are involved in these situations with men who have the other mindset of, oh, a woman, you know, I shouldn't help a woman, I shouldn't this, I shouldn't that. But the woman still needs help. And then so she's looking to her male friends as, hey, help me with this and help me with that. And it's like, well, hold on. How much am I expected to do as your male friend who ain't even getting none, right? While you over here accepting this guy in your life who ain't doing jack diddly squat. Like, you know, you gold digging the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? So, again, it was interesting to hear all the feedback from the guys on the complications in the dating game for them. And, you know, listening to the sentiments from the man cave. At the end of the day, I truly feel that none of it will change. While I did say, you know, myself that, hey, it's men who are responsible for us not going on nice dates and this and that. Somebody else said it's not so much the men. They said, you know, women, we are the ones with the power. And you know what? I agree. A man said that in the group. And I agree. If we stop accepting certain things, then perhaps the men would do better. Yet at the same time, there's a scripture that says, I will not hold your daughters accountable when they play the whore and your daughters-in-law the prostitute, because you yourselves, your men, go off with whores and sacrifice with temple prostitutes. Okay, so the men are still supposed to be the example. Do you see the conundrum here? Is that the proper word for it? You see what's happening here? Everyone is playing the blame game, you know? Men are saying, hey, well, you guys are just all about the money, and you say you don't know what you want, but you're using me and hanging around until, you know, you find Mr. Right. And the women are saying, hey, you're all about the sex. You don't want to commit to me. You know what? As I said, you know, Bahama Mama said, sometimes the mindset is only a reaction. The mindset of the woman is a reaction to the approach of the man. And it's not necessarily a genuine one in terms of what the woman wants. You know, the woman doesn't necessarily want to be a gold digger and, you know, have this guy or that guy and, you know, put it all together. At the end of the day, I'm sure she'd be quite happy if she had one man who would commit to her and, you know, be a good provider and invest in her time and her future and everything that she wants to do and become a unit together, you know? And so, again, the blame game. That's a lot of what I got. The men don't seem to, I don't know, they don't seem to take ownership for their part in it. Tina, you thought so? The men didn't really, you know, like I feel like a lot of the guys were really scared to answer. So I'm very appreciative to the guys in our WhatsApp group After Hours 242 who were very vocal about their personal experiences and their situations. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think we're just playing the blame game. I think we're saying, oh, women don't know what they want. But at the end of the day, a lot of the guys, you know, you're with the woman, you know, she don't know what she wants. You know you don't want her anyway. That's why you're sticking around with her, because at the end of the day, you know you can get rid of that one, you know. Men who kind of, this is my experience, and I think I've mentioned this before. When you have men who want a good woman but don't want to keep her, right? They'll come around and they'll get involved with you, but when they realize that, you know, you are truly and seriously about something more, the decent guys will kind of let you go. And yeah, it's still not a great feeling to say, well, hey, we didn't wind up getting into a relationship, but I still think it's more honest, and I think it's better than all of us who are hanging around. And let me tell you why I say that. Those of us who are hanging around in these relationships when you know this is not the person that you want to be with, right? Guys, when you're sleeping with women, and because again, it is the man cave, when you're sleeping with women and perpetuating these dreams, right? Even if you're not telling any lies, you know, if you're perpetuating these dreams, if you're continuing these sexual situations, knowing that ultimately you don't want to be what the woman needs, neither of you can find who you really need to be with. You gotta be free for that. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult. Will you meet the person? Maybe. But it's so difficult to extract yourself from situations. And I find that, you know, I've been in situations where you meet a guy and, like, you know, you're trying to date, but then you find out that he has these so-called friends that he still has to cut off. And again, it's just because you had handholds, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, yes, I want you, but my hands are full right now. Let me get a trolley, right? Like, you know, you have to have the space. Like Steve Harvey tells it, not really a joke, but he recounts telling his mother about wanting a new car. And he kept telling her, oh, I want a new car, I want a new car. And she'd be like, yes, baby, I know you want a new car, I know you want a new car, this and that. And she would say to him, you know, I understand or whatever, but what you gonna do with the old one in the driveway? And every time he said it, she keep mentioning it. So finally one day he say, why you keep mentioning that? She's like, because I want to know where you're going to put the new car. Okay? And he said he realized that, like, there's no space. So what did he do? He got the car towed or whatever he had to do, and he said he scrubbed up the driveway. And he said, according to him, within 2 weeks of putting that focus and that energy on making space for the new car, he was actually able to achieve getting the new car. And apparently it had been like some year and some. So it was like, you know, how many times do we plan for things in life? And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And like 6 months later, like, you ain't got $1 saved towards it. It just seems like the money comes and goes because we're not making the proper space in our lives and putting the proper energy into the proper things. So again, if you're hooked up in these relationships and situationships, and, you know, even if it's a situation where you're maybe contributing to the other person's life, and likewise, guys, don't misunderstand me. I think women should contribute to your life as well. I think a woman should be a benefit, whether it's a benefit to your business, whether it's a benefit to how you run your home. One of my good friends, who I won't name just for the sake of her privacy, she mentioned the fact that her husband had kids. She didn't want kids at the time, but her husband had kids prior to him being her husband, and their mom passed. And suddenly she had 3 little girls that, you know, her boyfriend was now responsible for taking care of. And he asked her to help, and she did. And so, you know, things do happen in interesting ways in life, but you have to make space for things, okay? You have to know what you want, and you have to know the difference between wanting something and actually being dedicated to getting it, you know? Even for us as women, we say we want things, but is our lives truly set up for a man? Or do we have like 10 dudes on our phone, like one saved as food, like one saved as ride, you know what I mean? One is rent, one is school fee, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so when Mr. Right comes along, like, you think you're just going to be able to cut off all these people magically, you know? We're accumulating spiritual baggage. And so, you know, guys, I hear you. I would like to hear more from you. I would like for you all to elaborate more on the complications. I think that I've touched on some of them. You know, again, for us as women, we've come to a place where we're just so damn independent that, number one, we can be abrasive, and number two, even for those of us who aren't abrasive, we can be very intimidating. And so, you know, guys, don't be confused about it. Do what some of our friends in the group said they were doing. Take your time to invest in yourself and your own self-worth and your own value. And I think you'll find that self-control will follow, you know. A guy will not... See, and this is why I say guys will say they value themselves, but they don't. Remember when I told the joke the other week? I'm not going to retell it, but I think it was like episode 3 maybe. You want to listen to that. It was very good. But, you know, guys, you will say you value yourselves, right? But when you truly value yourself, you won't just run around with, you know, Susie, Lucy, and Mary, okay? Yeah, that's the female version of Tom, Dick, and Harry, okay? But that's why I say, you know, it's a process. That's why I also say to you that I think men value their money, their hard-earned money, the same way that women value their reputation. Sexual worth, I think, only comes to men after a certain point in life, when they realize that being with this woman, that woman, and the next woman is pouring out all of the sexual energy. Also, when they realize that they're spending time fattening frog for snake, as some of us would say, right? Because even if you're a good guy, how many women do you want to be in situationships with where you claim you're not ready yet, and at some point she finds that somebody else who is ready and goes on to be with them? Because at the end of the day, again, if you're a good guy, that means that whole time you were investing in this woman, you know what I mean? Whether it's just helping her out, whether it's just being a good business partner or a good sounding board for her ideas, you know, whether it's just showing up at events that she does or something, whatever it is, when you're a good guy, you do something to show support. And so if you end up in this situation where, again, you keep fattening frog for snake, that too makes you realize, well, hey, no, the next time I put in my time and my effort, I would like it to be for something that's going to be mine. You know, it's like renting forever. You don't want to rent forever. You'd like to at some point make an investment that's going to have a return. And that is a critical point. So again, I want us to continue this conversation. Guys, I want you to be more vocal. Don't be scared of the women in the group. I think that's the problem. Especially like in the Facebook group, you know, because listen, as Kanye West learned this week, the internet will light on you fast. Like, I swear, this week with Kanye West was the best thing to happen since Shawnee Miller won gold and like the whole CYC thing. Remember that? Do you remember? Tino like playful, you know. Oh, and thank you. Speaking of which, yes, Bahamians chimed in, and it is sugar apple leaf, Tino. Thank you. Bahamians do smoke sugar apple leaf. They take the leaf and put it in. You ain't been around no old people, eh? Listen. Again, we spoke about this in a previous episode, I think the last one. So if you want to catch up on those jokes, by all means, check it out. SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, that's Apple Podcasts. And of course, your favorite podcast app, man. Yeah, tune in a whole bunch of places. We're all over. Look for us. But yeah, I want to finish the conversation. I want the guys to get more vocal. Don't be scared. I won't let all the women light on you. You know, say how you feel. If you think that the women are all just gold diggers, by all means, let us know, okay? Next episode, I think we're going to do the clap back, okay? Yeah, everybody could just sound off on their issues with the things that we've been saying thus far, how everyone is feeling, their own opinions on what's going on with the dating game. And I'd like to hear some of your experiences as well. Again, I am on Kick, Sexy Vanessa 242. With Kick, that's an app you can download. You can be whoever. You don't have to put your real name. You know, you can feel absolutely safe, be completely anonymous. And again, even if you message me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, I will keep you anonymous if you so choose. But I want to know what your personal experiences are. I want to address more in detail some of the things that we're all experiencing, trying to get through this very shallow dating pool that we have. And, you know, especially those trust and loyalty issues, because that was another thing that the guys mentioned. And I think that's kind of on both sides. And to be honest with you, I think that really goes back to our first topic, which was sex and social media. And maybe we'll do a sex and social media part 2. The reason I say that is because when it comes to trust and when it comes to the access that we have to people, our cell phones, these smartphones, which I have mine in my hand right now, and Tino has his, right? This is a dangerous thing. This is a dangerous device. You know what I mean? Immediate communication is dangerous. What we're able to do, what we're able to hide, what we're able to look at, what we're able to feed our spirits in secret, it's a serious thing. And I think that it is definitely a part of the core reason that people have trust and loyalty issues, you know? I think it's also part of the reason why we're so convinced we could always just move on and we don't work out things sometimes, you know what I mean? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the trust and the loyalty. We're going to talk about, since we've discussed the rules of engagement, let's talk about what really happens in the relationship, what should be happening, what's okay, what's not okay. So next episode, the clap back. How you feeling? I want to hear your comments, all right? Of course, it's After Hours with Sexy Vanessa, Street King Records, Tino the producer. Again, check us out, SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, and more. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, okay? That's what we're talking about. Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter at After Hours 242, okay? You can also check out my page at More Sexy Vanessa, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, of course. And yeah, man, we're going to have a great week. I hope you all have a great week. And looking forward again. Don't forget your tickets. Do not forget the tickets for the Laugh My Ass Off Island Comedy Experience, May 20th, right here in Nassau, Bahamas. Big shout out to my boy Ken, who's here for Carnival, man. Yeah, he was having a good time. So yeah, shout out to everyone who enjoyed themselves at Carnival. And again, get your tickets. Laugh My Ass Off Island Comedy Experience, major hype. Check out our pages for all the info. Got the special prices for you. 2 persons for $60, okay? The regular price is $35. I got you 2 tickets for $60. Hit us up online. And of course, the VIP tickets, regular price is $50. I got them for you just $45, okay? Open bar during the show. That's what we're talking about. Join the After Hours 242 group to experience those great prices. And yeah, that's a wrap. I've been your ear enough for this time. It's After Hours with Sexy Vanessa. Shalom until next time.